Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex. Yet again, this is another episode of Big Baby Reviews. Today is Rob Liefeld Day, and usually we look at the next issue in his New Mutants run from the early 90s, but right now we're doing a bit of a rewind because originally in my review timeline, when I got to issue 94, I didn't actually own it, so I moved on, and in between, my buddy Nick visited kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, a comic book flea market, and actually was able to find this issue for me. So thank you, Nick. Really appreciate it. Nick's getting a lot of shout outs this week. Makes sense because, you know, I saw him on Friday and I shoot on Tuesday, and he brought a lot of those comics. We discussed some things. That's how the Wolverine Revenge review came about. But anyways, I'm kind of going off topic here. So back to this issue here. Doing a rewind so we can cover it because I was a little disappointed. Originally, I thought I owned this issue, and when I got to that point, I didn't have it to review. I was, again, disappointed. So the fact that Nick was able to get it to me is awesome, and I'm going to take the time to review it. So a little bit out of sync, out of order, but doesn't matter. After this, we'll be continuing on with issue 99 and then 100. And continuing on with the regular numbering on into X-Force. We should be all right. I'm pretty sure I got all the issues of X-Force for this. So talking about the cover, first of all, this is issue 94, cover dated October 1990. Do want to mention here, kind of odd, I just realized this now looking at Cannonball up here. I feel like there's a definite, almost like Rob Liefeld drew this, but it's like it almost looks Walter Simonson-ish or Art Adams-ish, which is I assume two of Rob Liefeld's influences anyways. But looking at Cannonball here, it always bothered me that I felt he kind of looked like someone I could never put my finger on it, and I feel like looking at it here, it just came to me. Could be wrong. If you guys know about the New Gods, but more specifically the Forever People, so the, you know, Jack Kirby's Fourth World, the character's name is Mark Moonrider. I feel like here it's just basically the same costume with like a blonde hair. So anyone else notices that and thinks I'm right, let me know. If I'm totally off my rocker, you can let me know as well too. This cover famously, you know, this shot of cable was lifted from a G.I. Joe comic by Michael Golden. I don't know the specific issue, but I've seen it out there. You've probably, if you're into comic swipes or things like that on you know, Facebook groups or on the internet, there's tons of sites that refer to comic book swipes that you can check out. This is definitely one of them. If you see the original image, it can't not be, I guess is how I'd put it. And here's the thing I will say too, I've never really seen Rob Liefeld other than here draw a gun quite like this, which is, I guess, fairly realistic, more of a bullet gun than a laser gun that, or I assume, you know, energy weapons that he usually kind of carries around. So that, and pretty well foreshortened, I would say, which is also not a Rob Liefeld staple when drawing guns, or at least the foreshortening is not as successful as here. So definitely swiped. At this point, I think most people know about it. Not anything against Rob Liefeld. Many comic book artists have done swipes in the past. I've talked about this. It's quite a common thing in the comic book industry. You know, now basically what people do is they sign the name of the person they've homaged, and that's how it becomes an homage rather than a swipe. But back then, Liefeld was not doing that. Pretty good cover overall. This is more of Liefeld inking himself. So I do like the finish on all of this and the hatching, even though as loose as it is. Some of the stuff, man, some of these, like this leg was drawn in 30 seconds, you know what I mean? But there's still something cool about it. I was talking again with my friend Nick the other night about the very exaggerated nature of Wolverine's mask in the early 90s, right? Jim Lee did a little bit, maybe not so much, but definitely Rob Liefeld. And either Rob Liefeld or Eric Larson are the king of just the exaggerated Wolverine mask. Another aspect of the 90s I want to talk about here are Wolverine's teeth. Are the Image guys the first guys to really throw in like those very pronounced obvious canines? Like Liefeld does it. I know McFarlane does it in Torment. Maybe Jim Lee did it a tad, again more subdued than these guys, but he still did it. Are they the first guys to do it? You know, I wonder at what point did artists start drawing Wolverine's canines much sharper? Because I do think when you look back, I don't think John Byrne was doing it in the beginning, or Dave Cockrum. Could be wrong on that, but if anyone has any answers, let me know in the comments. Where did Wolverine's, you know, pronounced canine teeth first appear? And it makes sense, as he's, even though he's based on Wolverine, I've talked about this before, he's kind of like the werewolf character, right? And we've got a lot of that telltale Liefeld dust openly hatched, oddly hatched, right? It's kind of another Liefeld trope from this period, which I kind of enjoy, to be honest, compared to, some of the stuff he does today. I do prefer this period here, where we're pretty close to peak Liefeld. We may have reached it with the last issue I reviewed, which is past this, so somewhere 97, 90, I think it's 97, where he inks himself inside for the first time. So we're going back to another inker here, although pencils and layouts are still by Liefeld. And this is, I'm pretty sure when we get the credits, this will be Hilary Barta doing the inks, who I think does a really good job on Liefeld overall during this period, and is pretty faithful to his lines and pencils that he puts down, although the lines tend to be a little bit thicker than what Liefeld typically would put down, especially for his contour lines. Cool shot of Wolverine, I will mention in this issue. For the first time, and you'll see it throughout. Maybe I'll mention it every time, or maybe not, but I'll at least mention it now. The length of Wolverine's claws is just ridiculous, very 90s. So, when they retract, unless they somehow retract and segment and get smaller, well, you can pretty much assume that they'd be popping out of the back of his elbow here. And that's pretty much throughout the issue. So that's a funny kind of Liefeldian thing. But, he's going for crazy extreme. And again, it does... I hate to say it, but it does look pretty cool, and it works graphically, right? It works in a comic book, but yeah, realistically, not so much. But hey, that's not what we're here for. So I love how Marvel just squeezed in the indicia on the side here, because Liefeld did not give a fuck about leaving room for it. I mean, maybe they could have put it down here, but... So Liefeld's doing a lot of this during this period. The second page is a double page splash, right? But he's kind of turning that idea on its ear and being extreme and turn, so you have to turn the comic and look at the image as a vertical image rather than horizontal. I mean, I've heard people complain in the past, you got to turn the comic. Is that really the worst thing that could happen, where you're reading a story and you have to turn the comic? Some weirdness going on with Wolverine's eyes here. I don't know if the wrong space was colored on one side or the other, but just something really odd going on with the eyes there. They're not in the right place, but still, I do kind of like this dynamic Wolverine pose. It's pretty cool. I think the anatomy, even though, Liefeld-esque, is pretty sound overall. Just like Jack Kirby, I think Rob Liefeld invents muscles and kind of draws that straight line to create what Neil Adams talked about as sinew. Here's the thing Rob Liefeld's doing. I talked in the last review for Incredible Hulk for Dale Keane yesterday about these artists, and around this time more than likely looking at manga and incorporating some of that. These kind of, for lack of a better surprise or expression lines or, shapes, I don't know exactly what you'd call that. It didn't stick around for a very long time, but I do feel that's probably straight out from manga, and he's just kind of, seeing that and trying to use it here, seeing if it works, and he didn't really keep it for very long, so I guess he didn't find it was, something that was successful with his style here. Something odd here, right? He does these things sometimes where what's going on? Let's pay attention here. What's going on with this? Okay, so this panel just never closes up because Liefeld has Cable's thigh here kind of overlap the panel. But is that where his butt ends, right near his head? Or is that the sky is another, you know what I mean? It's very confusing. Just an odd choice there. I'm not sure if, part of Cable's pants or his butt is behind this guy's head. There's just a lot of visual confusion here. But another example how, when you're doing comics, something like that, if I really hadn't paid attention too closely and just kind of reading the story, I probably wouldn't have even noticed that, and it wouldn't have bothered me. So again, let's go through the credits. We got Louis Simonson, the writer, Rob Liefeld, penciler, Hilary Barta is the inker, Joe Rosen is the letterer, and Brad Vancata is the colorist. Another thing I'll mention, let's look at those claws again. I feel like, even they're pretty much both hands just similarly on the same or close to the same plane. Okay, so here they're this long. So it would definitely pop out his elbow or just about. But up here, they're just ridiculously long. Love it. So that's it. Now if you turn the page, get some more Cable fighting Wolverine action. I mean, most of this issue is basically just a slugfest. I like, I gotta say overall, maybe this is a swipe. I feel sometimes when Rob Liefeld does a weird angle successfully, he's probably copied it off someone else. maybe that's the case here. I don't know for sure, but I feel like just that position stuff really works. And then Wolverine also being upside down, and I just like this small kind of background Wolverine figure he did here. I think it looks really good. Like, okay, here's some anatomy stuff, right? So if his crotch and his hips are here, so Wolverine's thigh here is like, you know, what's that disease where women took thalidomide? Was that it? They took like a medicine in the 50s and early 60s, and their babies were born with like small legs and stuff. He's got that thalidomide, maybe. I'm going a little too much. Thalidomide. Pretty sure that's what that's called. That's what it looks like here. Wolverine's got one tiny kind of thigh leg, and that's like his bony butt here, because that just is a physical impossibility. I assume this is what the old timers were talking about, like Rob Liefeld can't do anatomy, you know. Interesting here too. Sometimes there's some Rob Liefeld images where I just feel it's a swipe. I feel like this is the way the legs are drawn and the foreshortening doesn't feel like typical Rob Liefeld foreshortening. So yeah, just a little odd there. This whole fight kind of feels to me manga inspired, right? So if there's any detective sleuths out there who are experts on this kind of stuff, could find, you know, anything, please let me know, because I feel that it's been talked about before about other, you know, comics, other characters and stuff, but I'm seeing some of it here, and I feel like that's where that's coming from. So kind of the B story here with Cannonball once again, Mark Moonrider. I just realized it today. And of course, you know, Rob Liefeld, even, I wouldn't say this is like just you know, they're tied up and stuff, so it's still part of the action, but it's a pretty mundane kind of scene, right? Rob Liefeld is still able to create, you know, as opposed to maybe Dale Keane, even though Dale Keane's probably a better illustrator, better artist, create more interesting dynamic layouts and panel shapes and sizes and close-ups and stuff to make these slightly more boring scenes a little more interesting. This here, again, like I feel like that's swiped from McFarlane. I think I've seen that swipe pointed out at some point before. And then when you get like some of this weird anatomy here, you know, I still think it looks cool, but it's the best drawn Liefeld butt in the world. Not to get too weird with men's buttocks, but yeah. I've seen other shots where they just kind of look like, this is one Warpath shot in X-Force where his butt just looks like two little tennis balls. I feel like these are proper buttocks here. And we'll stop talking about that. But yeah, just weird twist to the body, but I think it still kind of looks cool. And then just the most exaggerated teeth over here. So smaller here and then longer here. You know, Liefeld is not specifically consistent, but you know. Weird stuff going on here. Wolverine's hand is just tiny. It almost looks like he has none or he just has a nub. But again, in spite of all these little inconsistencies and mistakes, quote unquote, the art is exciting and keeps us moving along, right? Dynamic. It's one thing, you know, Rob Liefeld can definitely take credit for, is being dynamic and moving things along, at least during this period. Nice little bit of storytelling here. We got Wolverine trying to light up a really wet cigarette. I wouldn't say that's a cigar, but I've talked about this before. Anytime you got Wolverine smoking is cool with me. I think there should be way more of it. Ruined a perfectly good cigar, so he doesn't actually get to smoke it because it's all wet. But, you know, at least we know that he's a smoker. Cut to the Mutant Liberation Front, excuse me. They're a font. And Cable, I mean Strife here with his minions. We'll say Rob Liefeld really using that thick border now. Excuse me. Sunfire, Boom Boom, and Cannonball finally making their escape. So we're going to get some more action. There's something I like about the way he draws Sunfire. I don't know what it is. He makes him fairly skinny. Always kind of has the same face, right? If you read like the Marvel Universe cards, there's the, you know, for Sunfire, they'll describe him as being, you know, kind of arrogant and temperamental, I guess is how I'd put it, right? So it's like Liefeld said, well, okay, I'm just going to, you know, repeat that same face. He's got gritted teeth or open mouth for, you know, sulking or complaining about something. Warlock is still around, right? We saw his demise in a past review in a later issue. Still think Liefeld did a really good job on Warlock. You know, he would do stuff with the character that I just wouldn't see him do with anything else. Kinetically, kind of slightly more cartoony, right? Just doesn't apply it to his other characters. Maybe Sunfire a little bit. And if I'm not mistaken, we're coming up to another crazy swipe here. Look at this inking here. I think he's incorporating some of the McFarlane at this point. The teeth are definitely McFarlane to me. What an odd face. Some more cool Wolverine shots, and now the claws are just, you gotta be kidding me. They would, like, you know, they're twice as long as his forearms. Hilarious. There's, you know, they're not blades, they're not knives at this point. They're literal swords. You know, Wolverine has triple swords coming out of his arms. But hey, it looks cool. The broken glass trope, which I like, which I've done myself in my own comics a couple of times. Almost by mistake at the second time. Really drawing yourself into a corner. I mean, Rob Liefeld didn't draw that much glass here. I kind of went overboard. He's on a deadline. I get it. Do have to give credit where credit's due with Liefeld at this point. Still doing quite a bit with the panel layout. Lots of panels on each page. Like, where today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, are you going to find a Liefeld page in modern Liefeld comic books, say the last 10, 15 years, with 7 panels? I don't think any exist. If you can find an example, show me. And that's not a criticism. I mean, he can do what he wants with his art and his layouts and stuff. I just find there's a bit more substance here and a bit more storytelling, like actual, like more importance placed on the storytelling and not just the exciting images, which I feel today maybe he's flipped a bit. We still get the exciting images, right? And we get the manga lines that I've been talking about, right? Here's a good example. But we get good storytelling, even on a dynamic page like this with almost like, I guess, half a page, splash. We still get 2 other smaller panels, good storytelling. I like how he has Strife coming out of the panel here at the top with his cape. Not so sure it works with Cable and his leg down here, but, you know, he's trying stuff. You know, it's a choice. Here's another example where he does it, where I think it works pretty well. So, because it creates the 3 planes, once again, with not much. Foreground for Strife, middle ground for Cable, and the actual panel and these kind of, you know, expression lines are the background. So I think we're coming up on that Sunfire. Oh, I guess maybe it's on another issue, in another issue. I guess I was wrong on that one. And here we got Cannonball picking up Cable and Wolverine. Wolverine seemed to be pretty proportioned, but all of a sudden Cable is just much smaller. You know, for Cannonball to be able to pick him up like that, kind of odd. Cable tends to be the biggest guy in the room. And again, I got to give it to Rob Liefeld for the interesting angles still in these late New Mutants issues. Not skimping on the backgrounds overall, and just the layout and the number of panels and the storytelling I think is really good. I think this page here, just as a standard kind of comic page, is really good. Even here, the dramatic lighting on his face, well done. So definitely an action-packed issue. It's nice to see a cool Wolverine Cable fight. We've seen a bit of it in Wolverine with Mark Silvestri, so you get more of it here. I think this came first, though. It's probably why they brought it back in the Mark Silvestri Wolverine. Hey, that was popular. You know, let's try Wolverine Cable together again. But we all know that the real combo that works is the Wolverine Deadpool combo, right? That's the commercially viable one, more so than Cable and Deadpool, which we saw in the second Deadpool movie, which was all right. But clearly Wolverine and Deadpool brings in the billions. So there you have it. That is New Mutants issue 94. Do you have any answers to my questions? Please let me know in the comments. Those of you who are subscribed, thank you so much for watching. Those of you who are not, who are checking out the videos, it's a majority of you. I look at my analytics, it's about 78% of you now. So please, if you're watching the videos and you enjoy the content and you're not subscribed, please do so. Just got to click below, and it's a really easy, simple step that helps us out, helps send our channel out there to more people who might be interested in this content, and helps the channel grow and motivates us to produce more content for you guys out there. So thank you so much, and I hope everyone out there has a great day. Like!
Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KINGCOMICS.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.